Hello, happy Wellness Wednesday, everyone. Stress and your gut. This is a big one. I have had so many people reach out to me being like, I need to hear this tonight. And I am with you because those of you who have seen what has happened recently is I've had a lovely round of antibiotics. You can see the fur baby there. um, so like a lot of you, I am someone who is constantly working on my gut health. Now, maybe you're someone who is on that journey. Maybe you're brand new to gut health. Maybe you're needing a little bit more direction. So I'm here to support you wherever you are on your journey. And as always, I really want to make this nice and simple. Sorry about the background noise. Daddy's not home yet and she's found a cardboard box. So if you can hear that background noise. So I really want to make this really achievable for you guys, because give me a like, a love, if you have ever experienced issues with your health and it's cost you an arm and a leg, like it's just been so expensive and you've just paid all this money into your health. Hang on a second. It's going to drive me nuts. No. So this is what that was. Anyhow, I thought I'll leave the door open. She'll be fine. So I get it. And I want to give you some really, really simple steps and tips and tricks that are going to support you on your journey, as always, because it really is about the small things stacked up on top of each other over time that are going to make the difference. So maybe you're someone who does have issues with being able to absorb your iron and you're having sources of iron from your food. Maybe you're taking supplements. Maybe you've also been told that you've got chronic, like low B12. You're doing all the right things for that, but nothing's working. Maybe there's gut issues, like issues with absorption, stress. And the big one that I always harp on about is that rushing women syndrome, person syndrome, if we've got the guys tuning in. So it's been really relevant for so many of you. And when I posted this up, so many people wanted more support with this. So I'm going to give you might have seen my infographic that I posted up last night. If you haven't, it's on Insta, it's on all my socials. And it's about how to take care of your gut. And there were like 6 simple steps that you can do. And so you can use that, screenshot it, save that photo, and have that as a reference and start with one thing. Just one thing. If you're not doing anything on that list, start with one thing on that list and make it consistent. Or if you're already doing one thing, build it up to 2, make it consistent. Or if you're doing 2, do 3, until you can start to get consistent in doing all 6 over time. And so there's some big ones I want to talk about. And the huge one, huge one, as always, is the mind, the stress side of things. But before we get into that, I want to talk more about how we can support our body and what things we can do with our food. Now, if you go to greentarawellness.com.au, you'll type in gut health in the search bar and you'll find so much information on that. I did a presentation a couple of months ago, actually, which talked about, a really easy way to support your gut health without spending hundreds of dollars. And it's a 12-week gut health protocol. So if you want more support with that type gut protocol or gut health, in the chat box, and I can absolutely get you more information on that and even organize a time to chat. Because if there has been significant stress, chronic long-term stress in your life, if there's been antibiotic use of contraceptive pills, things like that, then potentially, and all these other liver loaders and the inflaming foods, then most likely your gut bacteria and the health of the actual lining of your gut is going to be impaired. So we need to take steps to work towards that. And there are 2 supplements that I love to do a 12-week overhaul on my gut, which I'm doing right now, of course, because as I've mentioned before, there's always a place for traditional mainstream or medical model and also the holistic model. Now, I couldn't help that my appendix decided it wanted to come out and I needed to have antibiotics to help with infection and stuff like that. But what I could help was how I focused on my gut health, and that's exactly what I've been doing. So from a body perspective, it's really about getting your body into that rest and digest. So many of us are in fight or flight. All our energy is in our extremities. Our blood flow, our blood sugars are all in our extremities. All our focus is on out here because our body's like, run away from that proverbial tiger. I need to run, I need to fight, or I just need to freeze. So we get to just seeing what she's into down there, she's fine. So basically what we need to do, because of the never-ending to-do list, the late nights, can't sleep because you're thinking, you're rushing around from one thing to another. Hey Natalie, you've got so many things on your to-do list, or so much running through your mind, or you're running from appointment to appointment and thing to thing, picking up kids, school, work. There's so much going on that we've often become used to functioning in this heightened state, in this fight or flight. We think it's normal. We're used to function like that. And I know that used to be how I would function about 5 years ago, when I was like really focusing on building my businesses up, and I was working so much. There was no time for rest. And I was at this heightened state all the time. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So so many people come to me, and I hear this so much from people, that they've got issues with their gut and bloating and diarrhea or constipation, or issues with absorption, or they're just not feeling energetic and they're not absorbing nutrients. And they're doing all the right things. They're exercising, they're eating well, but they're missing the big key point of stress management and getting your body back into rest and digest and out of that fight or flight. So what's the best way we can do that? Take the time to take those 5 really deep breaths before each meal, and really chew your food. Now, I have been particularly focused on this lately because, yes, I'm human. I can get into that busyness of eating fast and not being in that rest and digest before I choose to eat my food. But having this appendix removal, you really reset. We learn from our experiences, never good or bad. We just learn. And what I thought is, I really need to get mindful again about my eating experiences. So that's exactly what I've done. So if you choose to, you can do this with me, or you can listen along, but you're going to get more of an idea of what it is if you actually try this with me. So if you feel called, you can close down your eyes or just have a downward gaze. And then we're going to take 5 of our longest, deepest breaths of our day. So we're going to inhale through the nose. Feel the belly expand all the way down to the bottom, and exhale out through the nose or the mouth, you choose. So we're going to inhale. And first of all, as you're going, I want you to notice where your tongue is right now. Where's your tongue sitting? Behind your top teeth or on the floor of your mouth? So keep breathing. Inhale deeply, or wherever you're at. And exhale, releasing. You can do one more long, deep breath here. Make sure you get right down into the belly. Exhale, releasing. And then I want you to notice where your tongue is in your mouth. Is it behind the top teeth, or is it down, resting on the bottom of your mouth, like behind the bottom teeth? Because if your tongue is resting at the top of your mouth, you're still in fight or flight. If it's resting more down the bottom, you're in rest and digest, and you're ready to eat. So if it's still at the top, coming into dinner time, I encourage you to take more deep breaths until you can actually get that tongue, and don't force it to sit naturally down the bottom of your mouth. So if it's up, fight or flight, not time for eating. If it's down, rest and digest, you're ready to eat. So that's one thing you can do to tune into your body, to notice if you are in fight or flight or in rest and digest, ready to consume your food. Because when we're stressed as well, our stress hormones actually are quite inflammatory, and they can change the bacteria in our gut as well. So chronic long-term stress, you might be doing all the right things, but this chronic long-term stress can be leading to changes in your bacteria, which is going to change how you absorb your nutrients and everything, and how your gut functions. And it's also going to impact your gut lining, which is really important. We could talk about this topic all day. The reason that it's one of my most passionate topics is because it directly impacts everything else in our life. All disease begins and ends in the gut, as Hippocrates said. It's an age-old, like thousands of year-old saying. And so we really need to focus on that, because it directly then impacts our hormone health, and all things stem from our hormone health, right? So it impacts our thyroid. So that is why it matters that we focus on our gut health. So calm eating environment, not eating with distractions, just taking some time to enjoy your food, actually take a break. That's what I had learned, not to sit there in front of the computer, but actually take a break. So that's the thing you can do with your body. Tune in. Am I in rest and digest, or am I still in fight or flight? 5 deep breaths or more to get into rest and digest. Have a sacred place to eat your food, not rushing about, and chew your food. So what foods? Well, I talk about this all the time, but even just 1 teaspoon of sauerkraut is going to help to get, it's a really cost-effective way to get some of the additional good bacteria into your gut. So even just doing that, and there was a quote that I'd heard of research about sauerkraut and what it could actually do, and it's gone now, but it's awesome stuff. So, chuck it on nourish bowls, things like that, in salads. If you don't like the taste, to be able to disguise the taste, or just have a teaspoon of it straight up. Really good in adding good bacteria. And as we're doing that, like, that's a cost effective way of doing that. We also want to look at what foods we're putting in our mouth. So there's inflaming foods like dairy and gluten and corn and alcohol, coffee, refined sugar and alcohol. So looking at how much of those you're having, if you're serious about your gut health, okay, well, where do we need to find some moderation with that? Because we say everything in moderation. However, our moderation of those sometimes foods has become more than moderation. When it becomes like a daily or a weekly thing, it actually becomes more of a all the time food. And we need to make them more of the sometimes foods. Okay, so there we've covered body, we've covered a bit on food, but I really want to touch on stress because, as I said, stress, inflammatory, it changes the bacteria in our gut. It's going to change how we digest. Our gastric juices, our digestive enzymes, the peristalsis, that movement of our digestive tract, is not working effectively when we're in fight or flight. So this is why it matters. Out of anything I say tonight, if you're eating the right food, if you're trying your ferments, if you're taking probiotics, if you're doing all these things, apple cider vinegar or bitters like dandelion to get your digestive juices flowing before you eat your meals, if you're doing all this stuff and nothing's working, look at your stress. And before you go waste all your time and money on all those other things, which are important, please, please, please look at your stress levels. Now, often we can't change our stress, but we can change how we see it. And I've got a great article about reframing your stress. So type in stress on my website, you'll be able to find that. But basically, we need to look at reframing our stress to release those good hormones as well as the stress hormones. We need to look at setting boundaries. This is a really important thing, particularly a lot of my followers are women, and we always put everyone else first and we're the caregivers, but you cannot give from an empty cup. So in regards to stress management, reframe it. How can you say no to things so you say yes to you? How can you bring in more meditation or breath work? What things can you do to up your self-care? So thinking about those things to be able to support yourself and to support your stress management so you support your gut health. Because if you're in that fight or flight, it's not focusing on digestion. Your body's not worried about digestion. It's worried about survival. And you put the overarching, what can I call it? Situation is the most diplomatic way I'm going to put it. If you put the overarching situation of what's happening worldwide right now with COVID, there's an overall level of this chronic stress that's happening right now. We feel for each other. Maybe you're impacted by lockdown, or maybe you're not, but people that are. It's impacting us all in some way or form because it's also uncertainty. So please make sure you're upping the ante in regards to your self-care and stress management. And meditation has actually been shown to be able to change your gut bacteria because it does work on your stress hormones, which are inflammatory, and it works on having that anti-inflammatory impact. So guys, if you take nothing else from tonight, start to do some meditation or breath work and up the self-care and stress management techniques, and learn to say no to some other stuff, to say yes to you. It took me years to be able to do that. And I'm so glad that I now do, because I cannot give when I'm depleted. You can't give from an empty vessel. So in this conversation with a client the other day, but I can give from that overflow. When I'm filled up, I can give my overflow. And that is why I invest so much in myself and set boundaries so that I can share this with you guys and walk that talk. So I trust this has been helpful. Please reach out for a one-on-one consult. And if you want more information on the 12-week gut protocol, I'd love to support you, because this is the undermining aspect of our health, our gut health, everything. Have a beautiful rest of your Wellness Wednesday, and I'm so happy to be back, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.